Welcome back to Road America. A busy day almost done here for the drivers in the USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tire. A triple header, as you know, for USF Pro 2000. That means they're going to get another qualifying run. They're already on track earlier today. They're going to do it one more time here to set the grid for race number 2. This qualifying session equally important because it'll also provisionally set the grid for race number 3. They need to get one good lap in for sure, and ideally 2 super fast laps to see if they can't start up front. This is a track where starting up front does help. You get away from some of the action in turn 1 and down in turn number 5. But we'll see what the drivers have learned from the first qualifying session to go faster as well here this afternoon. Lots of racing coming, of course, on Saturday and Sunday, but qualifying first, it's qualifying for race 2 and potentially race 3 for USF Pro 2000.
You can feel confident Continental is the smart choice in tires.
Can they handle extremes?
Yep. Tested from the Texas desert to near the Arctic Circle.
Really?
Really.
Anything for the guy who finds that one pothole?
Yeah, road hazard coverage has your back.
For real?
Absolutely.
Were they made by like a bajillion engineers?
Well, closer to 100. Continental. Welcome to the smart choice in tires.
Over the years, we've chased down a lot of dreams, each one leading to the next, all the way to our most electrifying dream yet. Introducing the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. Made to inspire the newest generation of dreamers so they can make their dreams reality. The all-new, all-electric Prologue from Honda.
Well, now over 2 hours on from the last time they hit the racetrack for qualifying USF Pro 2000 drivers back behind the wheels of their Tatis race cars as we get set to go qualifying for race number 2, provisionally race number 3 of the triple header. Once again, live here at Road America. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Howden alongside the voice of Road America, Eric Miller. Temperature now up to 66 degrees. Much of the cloud cover we had at the end of the USF 2000 session dissipating off, a lot of blue skies, but one thing has been constant here, Eric, all day long, in the last couple of days, the wind is brisk.
15 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts, and it is crossing traffic, and it's coming in directions. In this case, it's coming from the northwest, so it's coming from 12 to 1. So your turn-in entry into turn 1 is all kittywampus, to use one of those terms. But turn 3, you've got more downforce in the front of that car than you're anticipating as well, as you're turning back across it. As it comes then down the straightaway through the Moraine Sweep, it's still crossing the racetrack in front of you. Turn 5, you've got a little bit more braking downforce, though. That's the advantage into turn 5. You can carry a little bit more speed.
And as I talked to Danny Dashelski, he called it a mess because he said every corner you went in, you really weren't sure which way it was going to come. A little swirling action as well, as we see some of the flags down here in pit lane in the IndyCar paddock. They're kind of moving back and forth. There's not one directional wind that kind of sway back and forth, and that's going to wreak havoc with a lot of these drivers when they head back out. But again, as we said before, qualifying here for race 2, provisionally for race 3. So unlike race number qualifying session number 1, where they were only qualifying 1 fast lap for race 1, 2 laps are needed here. The fastest lap you set in this session will set the grid for race number 2. This second fastest lap, provisionally the fast lap for race 3. If you go quicker than that lap in the race itself, you can use that lap. But for most drivers, I would expect they will go a little bit quicker here. So indeed, drivers rolling out. Lockie Hughes was the guy to beat early at 2:02.685. Let's see if he can do it again. That bonus point, though, let's point this out. That bonus point for Lockie brings him into a tie with Nikita Johnson. P1 the championship with 178 points.
And we haven't even raced yet this weekend, right? Yeah. So we've got a great championship battle up front. But you talk about that second bank lap in this qualifying session, provisionally fast lap for race 3. The issue with that is, in this situation, when you normally set fast laps in your race for qualifying sessions, that's the intention of staying green. We've seen here a lot of times where we get 1 or 2 green flag laps, and then we end up under caution for a good portion of the race. That's what you're trying to avoid here. That's why that second lap is so critical here in qualifying too.
So true. And again, you may see a driver who struggled in qualifying here, put a fresh set of tires on for race number 2 to try to see if they can't go quicker, even come in and put another fresh set on to be able to have that lighter car with better tires to move your way up the grid. We saw that happen with Simon Sykes in Indianapolis. They pitted for tires. He ends up starting up front, goes on to get a very crucial win that has moved him up to the 8th place in points. Simon Sykes was second quick in the opening session today, qualifying 1 for Pabst Racing, able to go second with a 2:02.9, but over 0.2 of a second clear was Lockie Hughes, who laid down a fast lap number 8, the final time around the racetrack, jumped to the top of the charts and got that pole position again. He'll start alongside Simon Sykes on row 1 for the first of 2 races tomorrow. The final race of the triple header for USF Pro 2000 will hit the track at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And then Frankie Mossman in the number 6 machine for Jay Howard Driver Development. A really strong run to go to P3, inside row 2 start alongside Danny Jashelski. And row 3 will be Ricardo Escoto alongside Jace Denmark. Tire warm-up time here and now. We'll see if the drivers come in to maybe put another set of tires on. I don't know whether or not they'll do that in this session, but Eric and I talked a lot during the first 2 sessions, the USF Pro and the USF 2000 qualifying sessions, that you have to have open racetrack. It's not quite as crucial in the opening lap here, Eric, because they're just really warming the tires up. They all know that their fastest laps are going to come likely on lap 7, 8, or 9.
Yeah, and we saw in that first qualifying session where laps 4 through 8, optimum tire temperatures, even into lap 9, so to speak. But lap 9, you're starting to get into that. Are you in traffic? You make yourself a gap at 4 and 5, and you start catching up on those cars that are in front of you, maybe 2 or 3 corners up ahead. So if you're faster on pace, you got to be careful where you're putting yourself in position on the racetrack. These cars coming off a pit lane, they're all in a group, and now they're going to have to kind of find their way around. And side by side here on these warm-up laps, they're not helping you. Now you got a car off in turn 8.
Because they were side by side coming out into hurry downs.
So in that situation, that could be, theoretically a critical mistake that happens midway through this qualifying session.
Yeah.
The other thing you want to try to avoid is ending up with a red here in the qualifying session. Even though it is guaranteed 20 minutes of green flag time, with that 30-minute window, you still don't want to waste that time.
You got to get the banker laps. You and I have already talked about getting a couple laps in early to make sure you have something if something were to happen, or if you have a mechanical, right? You're waiting around to the end, and all of a sudden you have a mechanical. You've been cruising around for 3 or 4 laps. That's not going to get the job done. And for sure, the tire pressures aren't where they need to be right now. During this session, if it's a 20-minute run, by the end, those tire pressures are coming up. You got the tire temps where they need to be, the fuel load, as we said. 2 drivers now pulling off, so we do have a couple of guys that are going to come in, scuffing those tires in, take those off and use them for the race, very likely. 3 drivers have made it to pit lane right now, so a number are coming in to go for fresh rubber early.
Lockie Hughes, one of them, going to pit lane right now. So that was the story in Q1, how fast Lockie Hughes was. Got the point for qualifying, tied the points championship. Now they're going for race strategy for race 2 and 3.
I love it. I think scuffing the tires is always a great idea, especially when we have a triple header. You have 4 sets of tires to essentially use over essentially 6 sessions, because there's a warm-up, the practice session, 2 qualifiers and 3 races. But they use the carryover set of used tires for that practice session. You don't have to use fresh rubber until qualifying. So 5 sessions for 4 sets. They're going to scuff the tires in and roll those out for the races. But now, as we start seeing, we're past the first 5 minutes, drivers still working together here, all kind of lined up. You find out what drivers will back up a little bit here and go to work. Logan
Adams, the 21 machine, on pit lane now as well, and they're changing fronts at the moment. So again, strategy play here, looking what tires they're going to use in the balance of this 14 and a half minutes in qualifying. But you see a lot of cars here coming into hurry downs, tucked up right up underneath the gearbox, underneath the rear wing. This is a little bit of a misnomer here in this qualifying session. You want to get a little bit of a tilt, a little bit of help, but you really need to keep the downforce on the front wing.
Anytime you go to a racetrack, depending on the surface, what does it do to the tires? Does it degrade the tires, right? Do we have that deg in a long run? Because there's one team that's done something a little bit different. We talked about this in the first qualifying session. That's Frankie Mossman for Jay Howard Driver Development. He only turned 4 laps, so he's essentially 4 laps of the good on the rest of the field. he's doing the same thing potentially right now. He just left pit lane. A number of the drivers already with 2 laps. They're coming around to put their 3rd lap in. More drivers, I'll punch them coming in. That's all I think the Pabst Racing drivers. Here come the TJ Speed drivers as well.
So that's the interesting thing of when they released Mossman from the pit box, half the field that was behind him is now gone onto pit lane. He can warm his tires up with no pressure from behind and then get that banker lap in. He may only need 2 or 3 laps here.
Well, again, we talk about lap 8 being the one, but is it lap 8 or is it lap 6? If guys did 2 laps, came in and put the fresh tires on, was it only a 5 or a 6 lap run that they needed to get to the end? Another one of the drivers coming in, too. It's, I think, the VRD car. It's either Nico Christodoulou or Nikita Johnson. Nikita, a multi-time winner on the season so far, winning 4 of the first 5 races. But then that technical DQ for the missing inlet screen in that airbox over the driver's head. A technical DQ there. Lost all the points from the race win, 33 in total. A further 30-point penalty as well. The series coming down harsh on that. Cash penalty as well to the team. So again, Nikita trying to bounce back from that. Did not have a great run at Indianapolis. Got into an incident at the oval with Ethan Ho. Both those drivers ending up in the wall at the tail of the field. So the once large gap shrunk down to 1 point coming in. Lockie Hughes pole for race 1, as we know. There's that bonus point that puts him into a tie as we head into Saturday's double race for USF Pro. Everybody's starting to put some laps now in, but again, we don't want to jump to the gun. Matt Clark, Danny Dashelski, Christian Brooks, Simon Sykes, and Ethan Ho, current top 5, but we know before this is all said and done, things are going to change.
Absolutely, and we know that he was quick in that first qualifying session. Matt Clark goes to P1 right now in this session for D-Force Racing, but Dashelski, Brooks, Sykes, are going to be in the mix here. They were very fast in the first 4-5 laps in that qualifying session. Got a car a little bit slower. I believe that's still Mossman doing the gap fine, letting the faster cars through here through Kettle Bottoms. And obviously with the alternate timeline, all he's really got to do is start that qualifying lap in Canada corner, put the foot down on the loud pedal, and start the banker lap for the first lap for Mossman now.
So Matt Clark P1, we saw him P1 for a bit in the opening qualifying session as well. He ended up in the 9th position as the fastest driver from the D-Force camp. He'll look to try to find some more speed. They've got to make some kind of change because he was about a second off. Clark coming into pit lane right now, both D-Force cars into pit lane. Both he and George Garcia Arce, the Mexican driver, the number 10, into pit lane. Clark still on top, again, waiting for things just to kind of dial in here. Still over 10 minutes remaining. Guys who have come in and put fresh rubber on, they're still on the warm-up laps right now just to start to build some heat into these Continentals.
And really, this is going to be the first flyer for Frankie Mossman here, where everybody else has got 4 or 5 laps in already. Now you're starting to see some of the teams that waited a little bit in the back that only maybe have 2 or 3 laps in right now to filter up through the front. So Mossman on the first flyer here. We know that it's going to take a lap or 2 to bring the tire temperatures up with these Continentals for Frankie Mossman. The strategy worked in the first qualifying session, and now we're trying to see how it plays out here in Q2.
Indeed, second qualifying session for USF Pro 2000. 4 races on the docket for tomorrow, folks, if you are here. Also, we have our autograph session as well for both USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000. That'll be in the American Legion tent, so you can come over and join us for that for sure. We'd love to have you there. Again, the USF Pro 2000 drivers who are on track right now, their autograph session tomorrow at 1:30. And then USF 2000 at 2 o'clock, exactly where IndyCar is having their autograph session right now. And then, of course, as I said, all those races coming here on Saturday as well. 7:45 tomorrow morning for USF Pro 2000, 11:30 for USF 2000, and then we'll cap the day at 4 and 5:05 with USF Pro and USF 2000 again. So kind of bookending the day to a certain extent with races from the ladder series drivers. Every one of these racers here in this category just 2 steps away from the NTT IndyCar Series.
Matt Clark with his second fastest lap provisionally for Q3 is a 2:04.12.6. So that's still an impressive second fastest lap. As we talked about having that second lap banked here in this session, how critically important that is if the race laps are slower than qualifying.
That's it.
And we've seen green to checker runs here. We've seen single cautions, and we've seen 4 or 5 cautions that happen where we don't get a good race in. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the nature of having this track, this configuration, and young drivers. It's all part of that learning process here in the USF Pro Championships. 8.5 minutes left to go here in qualifying, getting that first and second quick laps in for this Q2 session, setting up for race 3 on Sunday. But with this qualifying session, Rob, in the mindset, you know that you do have that extra set of tires because of the third race this weekend.
Well, the interesting thing too, just bring this up first and foremost, we haven't talked about potential for moisture tomorrow. That could change things all as well. If we do get a damp session, I'm not going to say the R word. If we do get a damp session, what do you do with the tires at that point? You throw some rain tires on, all of a sudden you got tires, in your inventory. That's the other wrinkle of what you're going to bring up there right now.
Right, exactly. And so in that purpose, are you going to sacrifice anything in this Q2 session?
I wonder, right?
Just in case of that. And that's kind of where I'm going with the strategy play of, sometimes you can outsmart yourself, but other times you make that critical play.
Again, it could be that move you make that nobody else is doing, right? You play that card, that Uno card, and away you go. So right now it's Lucky Hughes back up top. Not surprising. He was so quick in that session earlier today at 2:02.6. Right now 2:03.4. So still about 0.8 of a second off the lap that was laid down earlier. Christian Brooks now up into second for Pabst Racing. D-Force Racing's Matt Clark in third. Danny Trzaskowski in fourth. Jace Denmark fifth. Nicholas Baptiste and Ricardo Escoto, the two BN Racing drivers, 6th and 7th. Ethan Ho now 8th. Simon Sykes in 10th. And Tyke Durst, who's had some trouble, had a spin in warm-up, off in turn 14 in qualifying 1, now up into 10th. So a great job for the rookie Tyke Durst right now in the number 33. Other drivers deeper in the field, we're looking for more. Braden Eves being one. He will not be happy down there in 14th right now. He needs a flyer here pretty soon. A driver who won here just 2 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And going back to Tyke Durst, how does he rebound from those 2 mistakes? That's part of that learning process too within the championship, is when you do have that bad race, you do have that bad qualifying session, staying in the mindset of how do you correct that and how do you move forward from that, because this is a mental game.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that racing is all about speed, all about the potential of going fast, right? But there's a mental aspect to this sport as well that I think sometimes gets overlooked, and which is why that this USF Pro Championship, amongst the 3 series, is so beneficial to these racers moving up, because you do learn how to handle adversity and how to rebound and overcome those adversities.
There's so many good people at Turn 3 Motorsports, a team, of course, led by Peter Dempsey, a former multi-time race winner at so many different levels. The driver that won that the most famous Freedom 100 finish ever in the 4 wide at Indianapolis. But he's got great people. James Raven's there. There's a bunch of really good people at Turn 3 Motorsports. So Tyke also has some great teammates around him as well. Lucky Hughes being one, right? Multi-time winner, won a bunch of races in USF 2000 last year. What was essentially a fight for the championship between he and Simon Sykes. So to have the right people around him, that's the key right now. Brooks is now second. Christian Brooks, Simon Sykes up into third. Still Lucky Hughes, though, on top. Fast time of 2:03.422. A 2:03.6 for Brooks, 2:03.8 for Sykes, 2:04.068 for Clark. Only 3 drivers have broke through the 2:04 mark. Trzaskowski, now Mossman up to 6th. Denmark, Baptiste, Nikita Johnson, and Ricardo Escoto, the top 5. Liam Skeets now up into 12th position. Front-running TJ Speed driver right now, Liam Skeets, I believe. Yeah, then you go back to Cooper Becklin making his debut here this weekend. Becklin now in the 20th spot, but trying to find more pace. He did a 2:04.5. Right now his best lap is a 2:06.2. So I would expect another big lap to come out of Becklin before it's all said and done. But again, 4 degrees warmer than it was. A lot more blue sky. You mentioned it earlier about when we had that cloud cover, there was just no direct sunlight on the asphalt either.
And being new pavement yet, only, basically a season and a third in right now, you've got situationally the sunlight plays a big factor. This asphalt is still pretty dark yet. And it will absorb a little bit more light with the newer pavement. It does absorb a little bit more of that light, more of that heat in the middle of the day. Ambient temperature, not bad. It's
No.
comfortable at 66, under 70 degrees. 71, I think, was the scheduled high today or forecasted high today. But you look at this racetrack, you get track temperatures 100, 101, 102, and then you get into the 108s as the sun starts to bake all afternoon. So playing into what these track temperatures are going to be also may have a little bit more to do with the strategy play.
3 minutes and 40 seconds to go. 6 laps in the books here for Lockie Hughes. He currently has P1 for both race 2 and race 3. We saw many of the fast times coming on lap 7 or lap 8. So again, a couple laps likely left here in qualifying. Turn 3 Motorsports, Lockie Hughes looking to bounce back. A great start to the season. End up winning the opening round in St. Petersburg. Finished second in the next round. Then NOLA, an absolute disaster. 19th, 18th, and 10th. Really took the wind out of his sails, but he turned it around with 3 straight podiums in Indianapolis, a third at IRP in the Freedom 90. This would be huge to continue that momentum forward for the young Aussie. Lockie Hughes in the 44 leading the way. Christian Brooks into second. Pabst Racing now second and third with Brooks and Sykes. Clark in fourth. Ricardo Escoto for BN Racing now up into the P5 position. Daselski, Mossman, Denmark, Baptiste, and Nikita Johnson now the top 10. There's again just over 2.5 minutes remaining. Number of drivers turning their fastest laps. Ricardo Escoto P5, Logan Adams 11th, Nicholas Monteiro 13th, George Garcia Arce in 16th, and Cooper Becklin 19th. All those drivers turning their fastest laps last time by. Still a couple of laps to get put into the books here as we have over 2 minutes. So anybody coming across the timing line in the next, let's say, 10 seconds is going to get that lap and another. Coming down to the end of this one for USF Pro 2000. I think, did we have a yellow flag?
Yeah, local yellow.
Local
in 12.
yellow. So somebody potentially off. There's the yellow flag there, getting pulled back in. No, yellow flag now gone. So not sure what happened there, but I saw that yellow light pop on. Flag came out, everybody's still at speed. So whatever that was, cleared itself quickly. And we're back at it. Looking to see if any other drivers making moves. Simon Sykes does. He'll go up to second. Sykes goes to P2. He's less than a tenth behind. Brooks takes it back. The top 3 drivers are now separated by less than a tenth of a second. This thing is stepping up front. Braden Eves gets a good lap in. He'll go to 10th, much needed. He was 16th and 17th in the 2 races. He's moved himself up to 10th and 15th. He needs another big lap. Braden Eves needs to put at least one more together. Otherwise, he'll be 15th potentially for race number 2. Driver off. Oh my, that's a driver spinning out of Canada corner.
That was the local yellow.
That's the replay.
That's our off-air replay, but that is the 21 of Logan Adams.
Spins, reverses, and gets rolling and gets right back going again. So great job for Logan. Again, listen, Logan's got a pretty good lap time here right now. He was 15th. Had he lost that lap because he brought out a red, that would have hurt him big time. So great recovery for Logan as we're down under a minute.
Yeah, the final 45 seconds here in qualifying. Not a surprise to see Lockie Hughes up front. He has been the class of the field in both test sessions yesterday as well as in the practice and Q1 earlier. But Christian Brooks putting together a really nice lap on lap 7, 2:03.40 to a 3:09. So right there, this front row for race 2 going to be really good.
I say we're not done because these drivers are just getting better. These Continentals, we know, super consistent. Fuel loads coming down. These drivers now have to get it done. A couple of these guys in just enough of a gap that they're going to be able to get the draft that they need and probably not get that aero wash. Again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody down in Kettle Bottoms is done. Everybody on the last lap. Checker flag flying this time by as they come out of 13. We had 2 drivers below the checker in USF 2000. That is a 2-position penalty, so a couple of drivers dropping in USF 2000. We'll see whether or not the drivers here in Pro see that checkered flag and realize that they've got to come to pit lane. You don't want to jeopardize a potential spot. Everybody's coming in. Simon Sykes has gone to P1. Sykes to the top of the box right now. A 2:03.03. What a lap time there for Sykes, and Christian Brooks goes to P2. That is a front row lockout right now for Pabst Racing. We're not done, though. More drivers still to come across. I don't know that Lockie Hughes went any quicker. Jace Denmark goes up to 7th. 6 of the 7 drivers in the top 7, all going faster on their final laps. Still drivers down, coming through the kink here. More drivers coming across the line. Danny Jashelski does not go quicker. Ricardo Escoto does. He'll go to 5th. Jashelski goes down to 6th. Still a couple drivers down in the kettle bottoms. I believe that's potentially Liam Skeets and then maybe George Garce-Arce. Simon Sykes and Christian Brooks in the final lap go P1 and P2. Still provisional. We're not quite done yet. Another driver coming to the tail of the field. I think that might be fast Frankie Mossman. Mossman currently in the 8th spot. He was 3rd earlier today. Can he throw a lap down here for us as he comes out of Billy Mitchell Bend and across the line? Does Mossman go quicker? He does. He'll go to 7th. He moves Jace Denmark down a spot. This could be the final driver across the line. No, still more to come. This final lap has been a thriller. It looked like Lockie Hughes was going to be able to get away with it. Nicholas Baptiste, I believe we still see still coming. He does not go any faster, still 10th. Here's the last drivers coming across. Our last driver coming out of Canada.
That might be Nikita Johnson, I believe.
Well, he is down in 12th. He is going to need something special here. Waiting for Johnson. He does not go any quicker. So it'll be 12th in race 1 and provisionally 14th for Nikita Johnson in race number 3, 2 and 3 rather. But it is a Pabst Racing front row lockout. And I say that because the team is from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. They have never won a USF Pro 2000 race here. And they're going to put 2 drivers on the front row in race number 2. In race 3, I think it'll be Brooks on P1, and I want to say Lockie Hughes up into the 2nd spot. So Brooks will be the pole for race number 3 provisionally now, but Sykes for race number 2. That is your top 2 drivers, and the Pabst crew will be happy with that. Lockie Hughes and Matt Clark, row 2. Ricardo Escoto and Danny Jashelski, row 3. Frankie Mossman and Jace Denmark on row 4. George Garcia-Arce alongside Nicholas Baptiste on row number 5. That's your top 10. Braden Eves improved up big time. He was 17th. He'll start 11th, exactly where he's starting in race number 1. Eves alongside Nikita Johnson on row 6. Nicholas Monteiro and Liam Skeets on row 7. Ethan Ho and Cooper Becklin, row 8. Logan Adams and Nico Christodoulou on row 8. And Tyke Durst and Artie Flores will be on row number 10. And again, the superstar, Charles Finelli, 60 years young, will start 21st in the Fat Boy Racing Machine. Eric, that was good. We knew it was going to come down to the last lap. We saw guys stepping things up. Did I think it was going to be Simon Sykes from 3rd to 1st? Pretty good qualifying run for him. And not only did he pip Hughes, that's 0.3 of a second. That's a great race car.
Yeah, and you, again, tire play strategy, where they found the gap, where they found the speed, maybe a little bit of an adjustment after Q1, some adjustments. You just know that right. Pabst Racing's got so many laps around here of how good that team is. You know that you're not going to be able to keep them down, and they want this one more than anything.
And they got great drivers this year, multi-time winners in both USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000. We know that Simon Sykes will start from pole in race number 2. Already a victory this year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They're going to race at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for their first of 3 races on the weekend, 2 tomorrow. USF 2000 on track for their opening race at 12:30. The pro drivers will be back on it again at 4:10 for race number 2. 5:05 to cap off the weekend for USF 2000. As we know, Sunday morning, 10 o'clock for the 3rd race, back into the triple header for USF Pro 2000. Remember, the autograph session at the American Legion tent tomorrow, 1:30 for USF Pro 2000, 2 o'clock for USF 2000, right beside the Victory Lane area here at Road America. But, man, we've got some great stuff happening. A big qualifying run for Simon Sykes and huge for Pabst Racing, as we said. There you go, folks. There's your autograph session right there. Tomorrow, June 8th, 1:30 for the pro drivers, 2 o'clock for USF 2000. That wraps things up here. Trackside for the USF Pro Championships, presented by Continental Tire. Qualifying said and done. Now it's time to go racing. 4 on the docket for tomorrow. We'll start the day off, and we'll end the day as well. We'll bookend it for you here with USF Pro Championship competition, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. We thank you so much for tuning in, folks. A lot of great stuff still happening here trackside at Road America. Make sure to follow all of our social media and all the channels. Download the USF Pro Championship app if you haven't already. And again, lots of great stuff coming on Saturday. On behalf of Anderson Promotion, folks, thank you so much. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.